I have a longing for creating another easy make, something that could easily be made even with beginner knowledge of sewing. I had this idea of creating a bag with a Japanese-inspired design that can be made with thrifted materials as old curtains or beddings as well as new bought fabric. So this video is a tutorial of this make. Begin with pinning together the handles of the two mirrored pieces of the lining and do the same with the two mirrored pieces of the outer fabric as well. When both handles are pinned in place, I sew them together with a straight stitch. After sewing this together, I press the seams so the seam allowance divides and lay flat on both the lining as well as the outer bag. Now we're going to sew the lining and the outer bag together. I lay the lining flat with the right sides up. Then I take the outer fabric of the bag and lay it on top of the lining with the right side facing down. Then I match the seams at the top of the handles perfectly together before pinning the rest of the opening. When you have pinned the whole opening of the bag, it is time to sew. I sew this with a straight stitch with 1 cm seam allowance. You need to cut across the rounded areas. This will make the fabric easier to turn and you get a much smoother look. If you get wrinkles, you may need to cut some more marks before continuing to next step. your work so the right side is facing out. It can be a bit tricky to get the edge look smooth. I use a chopstick to poke the edge out. When I am satisfied with the edge, I press the opening so it will lay flat before sewing a decorative stitch along the opening. I make the stitch about 3 mm from the edge. Divide the outer fabric and the lining so they face to different directions. I begin with the outer fabric and match the bottom of the bag first. I pin along the bottom edge. Then I turn the work and measure out the distance that the pattern says and make a mark. Pin together the side seam from the mark on the bottom edge. Then I repeat the same step to the other side as well before sewing. Before doing the same step with the lining, I press the seams so the seam allowance divides. If you have made a decorative thing like I have done, you should check so the decoration match up perfectly before moving on. Then you need to pin and sew the lining as well. Be thorough so you mark the same distance as you did on the outer fabric. Take one of the bottom corners of the bag and pull the fabrics to the side so the seam is in the middle and your corner points out. Then I take a ruler and I measure out 7.5 centimeters for the small bag and mark across. I pin a bit lower to secure the position of the corner and sew where I marked out. I repeat the same step with the other 3 corners. And now to the fun part. I turn the work in one of the openings. It is easier to do so with the long handle and I feed the fabric through. When all the fabric is facing out, I put the lining into the bag and I drag out the handles. Now we're going to take care of the raw edge at the handles. I fold down 1 centimeter of the outer fabric as well as the lining to match the edges. It is easier to do so if you secure it by pressing with an iron so the fabric stays in place before proceeding along the rest of the openings. When both handles are folded, I pin the 2 pins in the bottom of the handle before pinning the rest of the handle. Before making a decorative stitch along the handle's outer edge that you just pinned in place, I like to make a reinforcement stitch at the bottom of the handles. This is made by sewing a 1.5 centimeter straight stitch back and forth a couple of times. And it should look like this. Then I make a decorative stitch across the whole opening of the handle where you just pinned earlier. Then repeat the same with the other one. And now you have made this beautiful knot bag ready for new adventures. The little one can be easily placed inside the large bag and you still have a lot of room to fill up with other stuff. I love this design and I know this will be my new favorite to use when I'm going out on my urban adventures. Thank you for watching this video and I hope you enjoyed this make. If you like my channel, please subscribe and like this video.